Hi, I'm Charlie from Agriland, and today we're in North County Dublin speaking to a lot of vegetable growers about the challenges they faced this spring.
My name is Shane Halpin, and together with two business partners, Sean and Gary Weldon, we are Wellgrow Produce. We produce cucumbers for the Irish market.
And what are the biggest challenges facing your sector at the minute?
As you can tell, it's quite warm here. The sun is doing that today, but generally start of the season and at night time and coming into the morning, we have to heat the glasshouse with the pipes throughout the place, and that's heated with hot water, and the hot water is produced using gas, and gas is a major cost. Just general expenses, everything has gone up in the last few years. As we all know, it's all related to energy, packaging, plastic, cardboard, fuel for delivery trucks for our own vehicles, electricity, like for running fridges, running packing machinery there, pumps. It's basically, there's not one single bill this year that's come down, and it seems to be the norm. We have got a price increase, but it's together with that and the HEPS payment last year, that kept our heads above water. But like, we also had a great growing season last year. So at the minute we're okay, but if we don't get a HEPS payment, that's the horticultural exceptional aid payment from the government, we don't know whether that's coming or not this year. And also if it's a bad season, like you could have a real dull summer, you just could have reduced yields, and that mightn't break even, you know. They need to bring in this supermarket regulator to just regulate the prices across the board, because we're competing with Dutch product coming in very cheaply, but that stops and starts, as we've seen at the start of the year. Like, depending on imports isn't ideal. Like, we were dependent on Spain, and Spain had a bad time, and I could have been in production at that time, but we planted later. So we were standing in an empty glasshouse when the supermarkets had empty shelves. A product we pick today, we pack tomorrow in the supermarket shelf tomorrow night, or the next morning, like on your shelf.
We're here in Rush, County Dublin on this lovely morning. At the moment we have about 25 people working here. We grow exclusively tomatoes, where we supply them to a number of multiples. We only survived last year for two main reasons, and the first one was that we had an extremely good growing season, great light early, you know, and we were able to produce extra tomatoes. The second one was that we got a government grant that helped us mitigate against the high price of the energy. We do need support, and we need a kind of a realisation of how important it is to grow our own produce. It's very hard to do some long-term planning. Myself and my brother run the business. We ain't too young anymore. We are trying to bring people forward that will continue with the business. And this is the same way in all business around here. There are very, very few young people, and the few young people that are in the business have to be really well looked after. We're losing growers every year, not just in the potato crops, but also when we losing vegetable growers every year, and they're not being replaced. Very few of us are going to get there. Our businesses may not grow it in this scenario. We haven't recovered anything like our extra costs that we have had to incur because of this.
We're a McNally family farm now. The whole family are involved in the business, whether it be the cafe, the farm shop. Just we had to find a different route to market, as we found we were the very small guys who were going into supermarkets saying, please, can you take our stuff? And so we decided, when they weren't taking it and there was no income coming in, we had to find a different route. Find a way which we could work so that we can make a living, provide for the children, and then, you know, continue on with the family farm. So we just went with direct sales, which was the farmers market route, which was very successful, and we're still doing farmers markets as well.
And what challenges have you faced this spring?
Yeah, many a challenge. At the moment we're still only planting potatoes. I mean, it's so wet. We've very heavy ground, so it means that the soil doesn't let go of the water, which is great when there's a drought. But when you've had so much rain, I mean, every time it sort of had a promise of drying up, and you saw all the guys going out, oh my God, are we ready to go? We weren't. This year is the first year that I have seen that the organic sector is being supported in a proper sense. Like, we were never supported before, but now this year in particular I go, whoa, this is amazing. Why didn't it happen 30 years ago? But it's fantastic to see that the support is there now. What we used to do back then was check the supermarket and sort of see what prices they were charging for organic food, and then sort of matched it to what we were doing. So we always stayed in line with the organic end in the supermarket, but we have now found that we are actually below, sometimes even below, the supermarket price.
And what do you think the government could do to help the veg growers as a whole?
As a whole, give them support. I mean, give everyone a bit of support, give the farmer a proper price. They have to earn a living too.
We predominantly were a tomato farm with our father greenhouses. I went to Agriculture College in Warrenstown and I found out about a crop called broccoli. In the last 2 years especially, the input costs have not gone up with inflation, they've gone through the roof. In March I talked to my supplier, and while we talked about prices the month before that, he said now it's not about price, it's about supply. We don't know what we're getting from the guys that mix the stuff up. One of the huge factors at the moment, say, is labour. Having good skilled labour that know what they're doing. The main challenge then is trying to get a proper price for the product. And within our area, we're after losing huge amounts of excellent growers for no other reason than they couldn't see any reason to continue anymore because they're not getting enough for the product. I do see a huge shortage of food in the next 5 to 10 years.
And how has this spring affected your crop?
The rain that we got in March and April was off the charts. The land even today is even still too wet. The retail lads really need to engage.
What would you like to see the government do to help?
Definitely below cost selling has to stop. Selling a head of broccoli for 49, 69 cent is gone. A grower today needs about 109 to produce a head of shrink wrap broccoli. I had to stop doing that because no one would give me that. And I've basically said to the lads that are doing it, and also to the supermarkets that are looking to buy it, give it to them now before they stop.